Hello and welcome to Business Foundations. I will be your guide and your instructor, Elicia Salzberg. So what is Business Foundations? It's the basis of your business education. No matter your background, your experience, whether you have a lot or a little, there's something for you. So if you have a little, we'll be building piece by piece and cementing a platform for you to jump off and study other specializations. If you have a lot, we will be buttressing and confirming your essential frameworks so you can use them to become a better decision maker. We're going to look at businesses together, and we're going to take them apart, piece by piece by piece. And then we're going to figure out how they work, and then we're going to put them back together, see how it all fits. So it's recommended that you'll be doing about one module per week, give or take. And you'll have about 3 to 4 hours of work in each of those modules. Now, at the end of each module and at the end of the course, I want you to ask yourself, do I see business differently? And it will be a resounding yes. You will no longer be able to look at businesses, to start a business, to work in a business, without seeing below the surface. You're going to see all the moving pieces, the drivers. So if you're ready for that, if you're ready for Business Foundations, let's begin. So we start this course with why. And it's appropriate we start with why, because you've already done an exercise on this. You've told me about a company, one that you identify with, one that you feel is resonant. So who did you pick? Tesla? Apple? Whole Foods? Maybe Muji for our international students? Taobao? Why did you pick them? That's where we start. And that underpins business. So the reason why it underpins business is that resonance, that feeling of shared kinship. That's what draws you to a company. That's why you're loyal. That's why you have certain brand affinity. That's how they build that equity with the customer. And all of that comes from why? A brand's ethos, a brand's reason for being. And there's a neat way to think about this. Simon Sinek came up with a bullseye. So Simon Sinek gives us 3 circles. And he thinks we start with a center circle, a why. And then each company has a how, and then a what. So what do we mean by this? That ethos, that reason for being, it lives in the center circle. Let's take 2 examples, and it'll be a bit clearer. So our first example, let's think of those of you that chose Tesla. So if you chose Tesla, you're probably sitting in your Tesla outside a farmer's market, drinking some single origin flat white from Starbucks, ready to go to your next activist meeting. Great, that's one example. That's Tesla's why. Now what about Hummer's why? Let's say person B has said they identify with Hummer. They identify with strength, with size. They're sitting in their Hummer, straddling 2 parking spots outside of a Walmart, waiting for their family to finish shopping and come outside. 2 distinct companies, 2 distinct whys. Now, if we drill down into both those companies, we can split them up into the 3 circles and see how Simon Sinek would unpack those feelings of identity. Tesla. Why? Elon Musk, their founder, wants to make the world more beautiful.
He wants to make the world more beautiful, both in terms of energy, how we consume it, how we view it, infrastructure, and design. That's the why. How they do that is just by building elegant, efficient, innovative products. And what? They happen to make electric cars and batteries shortly. So that's Tesla. And the reason why we feel that affinity and kinship, it isn't this product or service that lives on this outermost ring. That's just what the product or service is that they happen to make or do. Instead, you have to migrate all the way to the why to build that kinship with your customer. Hummer. Why? Strength, size, prowess. Those are all words that describe Hummer's why. How? They take army goods, so it was originally an armored vehicle used in combat. They retrofit it, and then they sell it to you as a what? That civilian vehicle that was once used by the army. The why, though, is what drew you there. That strength, that size, that prowess. So those are two examples of why. And now I want you to think about the company you chose. You probably chose that company because of this ring, because of this center, because of this ethos. And that's going to underpin our journey through this course. So our next video is going to look at how that why connects to a customer. Module 2 is an introduction to the business model canvas. We'll call it the BMC. So we're going to talk through first what it is, why we use it, and an example. So what is it? We're going to go through 9 building blocks. And those building blocks set out how a company does business, how it creates, delivers, and captures value. So in addition to the value prop that we talked about and the customer we talked about, now we move into revenue and cost structure and key activities, key partners, channels, all the pieces that round out a business. So we'll go through each of those blocks one by one in the videos, but for now let's talk about the tool. So why do we use it? Well, the BMC, believe it or not, fits on one piece of paper. What do you think about that? What in business, what in life fits on one piece of paper? Not much. This was intentional. What we had before the BMC was a business plan, and that was hundreds upon hundreds of exhibits, and then there were pages and financials and pro formas. And what that was when a company decided they were going to go into business, they put together a research exercise. And then they projected 5 years, 10 years into the future, this is how our business will run. And I swear this is the only time I will do this ever, but I'm going to quote Mike Tyson. You know what they found out? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Okay, I'm done quoting Mike Tyson. You can now return to your regular programming. What they meant was, when they actually went to market, sometimes they found out maybe there wasn't a market, maybe it was the wrong market, maybe their financials were way off. But what had happened at that point? They'd invested time. They'd invested a lot of human resources. They'd invested capital. Maybe they'd already prototyped. All of this meant that they had sunk all of these funds and resources into now a defunct business, all before they even got off the ground. So our BMC comes to the rescue. Our one page of 9 building blocks is the response. That's why we use it, so that you can build what you think are the key, concentrated, distilled pieces of a business, and then you can test it, and then you can iterate. And then you can bring together your insights into a product that actually makes that fit, that connection we talked about in the first module. So what are these 9 pieces? I won't keep you waiting. Let's take a look. So our BMC has 9 blocks, and you've already seen 2 of them. What you've seen already is our value proposition in the middle. And this is the beating heart of the BMC. This is what the BMC is based on. You've already seen our customer segments over on the far right. And we're going to introduce you to the other pieces that generate revenue. So that's going to be our customer relationships, channels, and then they all sum to revenue on the bottom. So that's one side of the BMC. The other side, let's step over, that's going to be our cost structure. So on the cost side, it's who you need to work with, our key partners, to get this delivered to the customer. Our key activities, what you actually need to do to manufacture, to just generally get it through those channels we talked about on the right side. And all of the aftermarket things to maintain your service, to help and troubleshoot, all of that lives in your key activities. We're also going to work through your key resources, what type of capital you need, what type of intellectual capital, what type of human capital, and all of that sums on this side into the key elements of your cost structure. And I'm going to finish with that example. So our BMC is a flexible tool. It just has these 9 blocks and it fits on one page. So what does this mean and why is it better than a business plan? I'm going to talk about Instagram. So with Instagram, the founder actually started it as bourbon. He wanted a way to connect drinkers. I know virtuous changed the world. But what he wanted to do was take his college drinking buddies and have them exchange photos, check in at locations, and generally just build a community around bourbon. And then what he found out, no one was using it. They weren't using it for that, at least. They were using it for the pictures. They were sharing, captioning, commenting, liking all of the pictures. And what he was able to do was, when you look at it through the eyes of a BMC, he was able to tweak the value proposition and then just see how all the knock-on effects rippled out to the different blocks. He didn't have to go back to his 500-page document and go and redo the whole thing. And our BMC is that dynamic, living document that can actually change with the market and change with a company. Let's start with the first block in the BMC, our value proposition, the beating heart of our BMC, the reason why our company exists. So an example that we've been pretty comfortable with so far is Tesla. Let's start there. So their value proposition, we said, was to make the world a more beautiful place. But since you already know that, let's look at a more formal construction that you can use for any company. So the first part is going to be 2. It's going to be who you're targeting. So for Tesla, it's going to be our target. 2 reasonably affluent buyers who are environmentally aware and technologically capable. And this is going to be your product, our Tesla electric car. This is going to describe what it does, or the category. So 2 reasonably affluent, environmentally aware, technologically capable people. Our Tesla electric car goes from A to B. So that just defines the car category. And here's where you differentiate. Here's where you say your points of difference. So yeah, we go from A to B, but we do that in a way that is going to be clean, beautiful, and innovative. So those are going to be your points of differentiation. What makes you different from this category of just going from A to B? So if we string that all together, it's going to be to your target, our product, and then you describe what it does, what is the category, and then describe what makes it different. And all of that combines to be your value proposition.